In the news this week, put your money where your mouth is. Youth unemployment advocates called on the government to provide real support for young people's jobs.
Price hike. Students hit out at the arts courses that will cost $17,000 a year.
The legislation ending slap on the wrist punishment for industrial manslaughter.
And on Western Perspective, the arts community's questions answered by Minister David Templeman. Plus a special song surprise.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lowe and Sarah Smith.
Good evening. As Australia's unemployment figures continue to rise across the country, young people are being left behind for future job prospects. Political experts and youth employment advocates both saw the situation coming and proposed solutions such as government investment in support programs and incentivised businesses. Taylor Hanna has the details.
Youth unemployment rates increased by 2% to a staggering 16%, with calls for the government to provide much-needed support for those struggling to find work. With Australia's unemployment rate confirmed at 7.1% following the COVID-19 pandemic, WA presented the worst rate at 8.1%. Youth employment advocate Mark Waite said that the figures are unsurprising.
It's a huge issue, and we knew that this was coming. We've always said that for young people, they are a disposable workforce in a lot of ways. Employers see them. They are the first ones that let go if a business is struggling.
He said we need to find solutions quickly before long-term damage occurs.
From our point of view, the concern is that the longer somebody is unemployed, the harder it is for them to get a job.
Political expert Dr. Ian Cook said young people tend to get neglected, and the recent pandemic highlighted these issues even more.
We're going to be more aware of the fact that policies haven't really addressed the needs and interests of younger people for quite a long time. But mostly it's about employers giving them a go, and employers will only give them a go if they're paid to do so.
Both experts agree the solution going forward is to incentivise businesses to employ young people, invest in job support programs and create youth-focused policies.
If they're serious about getting young people into employment, then they need to be active and spend a lot of money to do so. I don't think they will spend that money. I think they will ignore young people. They're hardly on the horizon, hardly on the radar now. They're going to largely disappear. Young people are going to be ignored. So I don't expect the sort of spending I'm talking about to be provided. But that's, we want to talk about what it's going to take to get young people into employment. That's what it's going to take.
Taylor Hanna, WAMN News.
University student guilds have hit out at the federal government's decision to drastically increase the price of arts and humanities degrees, all the while slashing the price of STEM degrees. The guilds say that the decision comes at the expense of poorer students' passions. Helene Fung reports.
The cost of studying an arts degree is set to double as an overhaul of tertiary education funding was announced by the Federal Education Minister. The new system will prioritise job-relevant courses, boosting funding for degrees such as maths, agriculture and allied health. Student guilds have reacted strongly against the move, saying the decision shows that the government does not value arts education.
It's pretty interesting that the government intends on making these value judgments about what jobs are worth going into or what degrees are job relevant. I imagine it must be quite disappointing for Year 12 students who have come through their waste dealing with online learning, probably had some idea of what they want to study and now are faced with an enormous financial burden.
Curtin University's Guild President, Hannah Arai, says that the move prevents students from being able to study what they love.
Those students who have the money have the choice, and then those students who can't afford to go into excessive debt are having that choice stripped away from them. The government is once again attacking its integrity, and this comes after decades of commercialisation and neoliberalisation of our universities that have turned them into businesses.
Helene Fong, WAMN News.
This week, Griffin Cole paid a $200,000 fine for a workplace death that could have been prevented.
Minister for Industrial Relations Bill Johnson said Western Australian companies need to improve at health and safety, and that slap on the wrist penalties are a thing of the past. A lot of members in that small town believe that the penalty is not heavy enough. What do you have to say about that?
Well, the penalty's been imposed by an independent court, and I'm not going to reflect on it. But the penalties in the system were too low at that time. That sad event happened in April of 2018. And in October of 2018, we increased the penalties by 500%. So we were very keen to increase the penalties to make sure that there was more accountability in the health and safety space.
What can young workers who are going into the workforce, particularly mines, in construction industry, can expect from this legislation change?
Well, what we're trying to do is raise the accountability in the industry so that the employers, the managers take more responsibility for what's happening in workplaces so that there's a higher standard of health and safety. We all know that to have a real achievement of improvement in health and safety, you need leadership. It needs to come from management, and they need to accept the responsibility for safety. They need to set the culture from the top, and that's why we want to increase the accountability in the health and safety legislation.
What's your assurance to young workers who are concerned about these matters?
Well, I think every worker should be concerned about health and safety. It's a shared responsibility. Of course, employers have a duty of care, and what I'd say is never do anything when you're nervous. Make sure that you stop and assess the risk and take account of the risks that are involved. Make sure that you've got the proper training and the proper equipment. Don't look for shortcuts. And if you've got any questions, make sure you stop and ask your employer to give you clear guidance, clear training and the right equipment to get a job done.
As the COVID-19 bust continues, one of Fremantle's major shopping districts is undergoing the shovel. Business owners on High Street are philosophical about the gas and waterworks, saying that pushing the construction to summer would have resulted in even more lost business. The Fremantle market are also getting work done during the shutdown, and the Department of Communities is finally moving into their new King Square offices. Mayor Brad Pettit says though the construction bringing challenges to businesses in the short term, the works will get the city back on track in the future.
We've got the fundamentals right now. With King Square in place, Department of Communities in, there's an extra 2,000 people in the heart of Freo. I'm pretty confident that actually Freo post-COVID will emerge strong. That doesn't mean we're not going to have a rocky road over the coming months.
In Parliament this week, a motion was put forward to support WA police officers and corrective services, with One Nation pushing for the recognition they deserve. Robin Scott, WA One Nation MLC, said the government has completely neglected our police force. The motion was lapsed on Thursday.
They've allowed protesters to have banners stating that 437 people have died at the hands of police due to police brutality. And I just proved today with my motion that that was completely false.
And the responsibility lies with us to make sure that the police, who do an overwhelmingly fantastic job for WA, get the support that they need from the two houses of Parliament of WA.
A series of incidents that occurred in late May are under investigation by the Regional Investigation Unit and are seeking public assistance. A group of 4 men attempted to force entry into 2 homes in Barajura, whereby the group stole a purse from inside of one of the properties. The group also stole a 2009 Holden Captiva from a home in Bennett Springs, before using this vehicle to steal a quantity of cigarettes from a Spearwood shopping centre. The stolen vehicle was later found abandoned in South Lake. The men are all described as slim build and wearing dark clothing. Anyone with information, CCTV or dash camera footage is urged to contact Crime Stoppers.
European countries are reportedly working with the United States in an attempt to reform the World Health Organization to ensure the body's independence. It's understood that German, British, Italian and French governments are negotiating with the United States, hoping to avoid allowing WHO's emergency management to be controlled by certain countries. They also want to reform the organisation's money trail to avoid funding reliance on any one country. US President Donald Trump has threatened to cut ties with China after several officials from America described the country as being uncooperative during a meeting. The summit was attended by US Foreign Secretary Mike Pompeo and China diplomat Jie Yang in Hawaii. The meetings are part of the trade negotiations between the superpowers, which are attempting to prevent further economic conflict.
We all know that the Minister for Culture and Arts, David Templeman, is a bit of a performer when it comes to music. From having a jingle in Parliament before Christmas to singing a song on the Highway to Hell event earlier this year, there's nothing to stop his itch to perform. And on Western Perspective tonight, he performed a song with ARIA award-winning singer Kavisha Mazzella.
There you go, little ditty. I like that. That's good. Hold on, you gotta be strong. You gotta be strong. You gotta be strong. You gotta be strong. You gotta be strong.
Thank you very much. Well done. Good on you.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website and social media pages.
No matter where you're watching, thanks for being with us and have a pleasant evening.
Take care.